Hey gardeners, are your seeds a chaotic mess? Does the winter sowing method sound tricky? Today, I'm going to show you a super simple organization method that works for me with my seeds. Plus, I'll show you a new winter sowing method that I'm trying today for the first time using everything I have in my own home. Check it out. Hey everyone, it's Tanya. Glad to have you back in my garden. It's January here just outside of Chicago, zone 5B/6. Today I want to show you a new winter sowing method that I'm using supplies that I have in my own home. But before we do that, I want to show you how I've reorganized my seeds. I went to look for my seeds this morning and realized what an absolute disaster my current seed system was. So this is the state of my seeds currently. As you can see, they are not organized, they're not put away. I actually have seeds falling out of their packets and getting scattered in the cases, so I can't keep track of which seeds are which, and it is just not working. So what I decided to do is take out all of the seeds of their containers and really just start fresh. That way I can establish a system that works for me. This is my current system here. As you can see, I attempted to alphabetize everything, or at least categorize everything, and condense seed packets into one container. But what I found was happening is that as my seeds collection expanded, I ended up having to re-alphabetize things and move seed packets to the next container. And I also tried dividing the seeds here using note cards, which in theory works great, but as collections grow, then I have to continue to move seeds to the following containers, and that is just a practice that is not sustainable for me. I need something that is quick, easy, and sustainable, and especially during the busy time of the gardening season when planting is underway, when I'm planting a full load of crops or a full load of flowers, I need something that is fast and that I can do quickly. So what I've decided to do is to simply separate the larger photo boxes or seed storage boxes by category. So I will create one vegetable storage box and one flower storage box. And that way, in my mind, the seeds are that much more organized because they're separated by type. So now I will create one vegetable box and then alphabetize my vegetables in that box. And I will use one container for one seed. That's ultimately the method I've decided to go with because I think that makes it simple and easy and really creates the most effective way for me to locate the seed when I need it. This is a perfect example of how I've accidentally over-purchased seeds by collecting seeds, in this case peppers, that I didn't even realize I had. So as you can see, I have like 6 varieties of peppers and I typically don't grow that many, but I accidentally purchased more just because I didn't know that I had them because they were so disorganized. So that's kind of a bummer, but it's a lesson learned. Now I know. So as you can see here, I am organizing all of the crops nice and neat and alphabetizing them, and that way I can find them whenever I need them. This is another example of sunflowers. I have many varieties of sunflowers, which I love to grow, but I couldn't even find the seeds when I wanted to plant them last year. And now I've located them. So they will be stored all in one container, which I'm really excited about. What I opted to do with seeds where I don't plant them very often, in this case chives, I'm condensing it with onions because chives and onions go together. They're all part of the allium family, and this way they're all categorized together. Here I am putting squash all in a small case. As you can see, I'm trying to pack as many seed packets as I can into this small 4x6 case just because I want to maximize the amount of space each case gives me. I am pushing the maximum limit here, but I think it will work, and ultimately I do get it closed after a little bit of force. I may expand this to 2 cases if it doesn't end up working out, but for now this works. What I love about this method is that it allows me to see which seeds I have at all times. That really outweighs the disadvantage, which is that I have to keep these alphabetized so I can really sort them and know what to look for and where. As my seed collection grows, I will likely add more of these to my collection. So I want to be sure that I know where my seeds are at all times. That's really the only downside to this. And of course, the cost to purchase this, it is not that expensive. I did purchase it off of Amazon and I'll be sure to link it below. But really, it really allows me to see everything that I have at once. And I realized that I was actually collecting seeds that I already had just because I didn't realize that I had them. So in my mind, that's a big win and that's a money saver because it allows me to use the seeds I have and not waste them if they age or get stale and not really have a good germination rate. I will also link this label maker. It really is a nice perk just to have the labels nice and neat and printed on each of the boxes so I can stay organized. I'll be sure to link it below. Now that my seeds are sorted, let's get into the fun part, winter sowing. For this project, you will need the seeds that you'll be winter sowing, a set of Ziploc plastic bags. I have a gallon size here, a scoop or a measuring cup to scoop in the soil. You will need a bag of potting mix that is pre-moistened, some clips that you can clip to keep the bags open. That could be clothesline pins or clips like this, whatever you happen to have on hand. Nail polish or a garden marker to label the Ziploc bags. Garden markers work great. I happen to have this nail polish on hand, so that's what I'll be using. And then also a pair of scissors to cut slits in the bags. Let's get started. Today, I'm going to winter sow delphiniums, swamp milkweed, and anise hyssop. I talked about all these seeds in detail in my previous video covering all my Johnny's Seeds orders. I'll link it right here. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill one of these Ziploc baggies with enough soil, right around 5 to 6 inches, to allow the seeds to develop a good germination rate. What I love about this method is that I really used everything I have in my home right now. These are Ziploc baggies that I happen to have on hand, and clips that I happen to have on hand, and nail polish that I happen to have on hand. I can save these to reuse next year, and what I like about this method is that it offers such a great greenhouse effect, similar to the milk jugs, but takes up a lot less space. So I can save these, store it in a small box in the basement, and not worry about it. Whereas with the milk jugs, I either toss them and have them recycled or save them for the next year and then have to store them in my basement. Every year, I typically have to collect my milk jugs or water jugs because we just don't have them usually on hand in the house. So this is much more accessible to me to winter sow really whenever I want to. So that's a really great benefit of this. I also just want to add that I did not come up with this method. I learned about this from a few other gardening friends, so it's a really helpful tip. And now I'm going to go ahead and pre-moisten the soil. Notice I went ahead and scooped dry soil into these bags, and I did that just to avoid making a mess. It's much easier to scoop dry potting soil than it is to scoop wet potting soil. It's a really good tip, just something to keep in mind if you're doing this indoors like I am in the bitter cold of January. So what I'm doing here is simply placing this in my kitchen sink and moistening the soil. I'm going to massage it a bit, let all the soil absorb the water. And at this point, I want to grab my scissors and then cut tiny slits into the bag, right at the bottom. And this allows the precipitation to drain out evenly. I will continue to massage this. It does make a little bit of a mess, but it's not too bad. Nothing that can't be drained out of my kitchen sink. And that feels pretty good. There we have it, pre-moistened soil that's done super simple, and now it's ready to have my seeds. Okay, before I actually put my seeds in the bags, I'm going to add my nail polish label to the bag. And I could have done this before I added the soil, but no big deal. I can add it right now. And the reason why I do nail polish, I did find that permanent marker really did not hold in our winters here. I have found that the garden marker does work very well as well, but this is just what I happen to have on hand. So I will be adding the number 15 here because that's the number. This is the 15th winter sowing jug that I'm doing. And then I will record this number on my paper where I'm tracking all of my seeds that I'm sowing based on each number. There we have it. So first of all, I am going to put in the Delphinium Magic Mountain mix. Delphiniums definitely require the cold stratification period. I will go ahead and add a few in my refrigerator as well, just so I can try them under my grow lights. I really want to have these in my garden, so I think that both methods might give me the best opportunity to have the more plants. So I know delphiniums require cold stratification because on the back of the packet it states sow 10 to 16 weeks before last frost. So that tells me that this particular seed does need the cold stratification. Now delphiniums again are toxic, so I'm going to handle these with care and make sure to pack them away when I am done. It actually does not specify the depth at which I'm supposed to sow these on the back of this packet, so I'm going to do my best educated guess. And what I'm going to do here, this is my first time doing this, so it's learn as I go experiment. I'm going to tamp down the soil so that way I have a good amount of space to sow these seeds, and then I will place each seed about 1/8 of an inch deep and spacing it around 3 to 4 inches to give it enough space to establish a strong root system. And the key to this, I did read when reading about this method, is that you want to make sure that the bag stays upright so that way it doesn't tip over or fall and dislodge the seedlings and then ruin your plants. So I have tamped down the soil, and now I will go ahead and add my clip. Well, first I will actually go ahead and close this, except for one section where I will add my clip and keep that open. And this way it allows precipitation to get in while insulating the rest of it, kind of creating that greenhouse effect. There it is right there. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest. Next up, we have anise hyssop. This specifies 1/4 inch deep. So again, I will go ahead and tamp down the soil. These seeds are very fine, so it's difficult to just sort out individual ones. They are fine as sand almost. So one thing I am reading about this swamp milkweed is that it forms a taproot. So that tells me that planting it in this method might be risky because taproots do not like to be disturbed. It will be an experiment for me. I will keep you all posted on this and we'll see if it's successful. It may be that swamp milkweed just prefers being planted in a pot, but I am still going to try. And a taproot is essentially one long root that goes very deep into the soil, really creates a very drought hardy plant because the root can go so deep down into the soil, but that means that it doesn't like to have its taproot disturbed. So if a plant with a taproot is disturbed, like for example, false indigo, baptisia, it will really shock and suffer. I have learned this the hard way. So just something to keep in mind. And I will seal off the last bag and add my clip. And now these are ready to be placed inside. Now, one thing we want to make sure of is that these bags don't tip. I can already tell that this wants to tip over, and we want to ensure that these stand upright and keep that hole open to allow precipitation to get in. So here are my winter sowed jugs covered with snow. And what I'm going to do is place a crate right next to them where I will suspend these Ziploc baggies. You can use any container or even rest them in between something so that way they don't tip over. This is again just what I happen to have on hand. And I also happen to have this dowel on hand. You can use a stick, a branch, whatever it is that you find outside to secure these. As you can see, one of them wants to tip over and we want to ensure that this stays upright. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors and poke a hole in these, and that way I can suspend them from the tops of this just by using the dowel. And I will go ahead and thread the dowel right in here. They're actually quite heavy. And this way you can see that they are staying upright. They're nice and cozy here, but do have a small slit, allowing the moisture to get into the bag to keep these seeds moist and to allow them to germinate. So this will be a fun experiment. I'm excited to see if this is as successful for me as it is for many other gardeners that I know who've had luck with this. I will keep all of you posted on this and track the progress of it. And you can see these are staying upright, especially when placed close together. And in fact, what I think I might do is secure it like this against two bags, and that way it stays upright. So I'm feeling pretty good about this design. So you can see I have gone ahead and used this clip on both of the bags just to allow the moisture to get in to both. And this way the seeds will warm up. This is sealed right here, so it will create that nice greenhouse effect, but it will still allow precipitation in here. So I'm pretty excited about this, and it definitely has room for more here, but you can use other things if you don't happen to have a crate. I have seen dowels or sticks rested in between bricks, in between garden beds, anything that will secure a plastic bag and prevent it from tipping over. That's really the key objective. I'm really pleased with the way today's projects turned out. I'm so happy that I got my seeds organized and it's buttoned up and ready to go for the gardening season. I'll be getting my new photo box in here soon so I can organize the rest of my seeds. Let me know if you try that method, if it works for you. And also let me know if you try this new winter sowing method. I will keep you posted on how the progress of the seeds go. And if you aren't familiar with winter sowing, definitely check out the rest of my videos. I've done a bit of a series on them, so I'll link it up here as well as the description below. Have yourself a great day and happy gardening. Bye.